The land of Egypt thrived under the golden rule of Osiris, a king whose reign was marked by prosperity and peace. From the moment he took the throne, Osiris brought a new era to his people. The once harsh and untamed land was transformed into a flourishing paradise. Rivers that once ran wild were tamed to provide life-giving water to fields, and the barren desert began to blossom with crops. It was an age of plenty, where people lived in harmony and abundance. Osiris's wisdom and kindness were the foundation of this golden age. He taught his people the secrets of farming, guiding them to sow seeds in the fertile soil and reap the rewards of their hard work. Under his rule, the harsh desert was replaced by fields of grain, and the people began to build their lives around the rhythm of the seasons. Osiris's laws were fair and just, bringing order to a land that had once known only chaos. His rule was not one of fear, but of respect and admiration. He was a king who cared deeply for his people, and they, in turn, adored him. Beside him stood his sister wife, Isis, a beacon of grace and wisdom. Their bond was a powerful symbol of unity and strength. Together, they worked tirelessly to ensure that every corner of the kingdom felt the warmth of their rule. Isis, with her deep love and unwavering support for Osiris, played a crucial role in the success of his reign. Her gentle counsel and nurturing spirit complemented Osiris's strength and vision. Their partnership was the heart of Egypt's golden age, their love and respect for one another shining through in every decision they made. But even in the midst of such happiness, shadows loomed over the kingdom. Seth, the brother of Osiris, watched with growing jealousy. His heart was dark with envy, unable to bear the sight of Osiris's success and the love he shared with Isis. Seth's bitterness festered as he saw how the people thrived under Osiris's rule, how they sang songs of gratitude and joy, and how they celebrated the peace and prosperity that had become their way of life. Seth's jealousy was like a storm cloud gathering on the horizon. His eyes, once filled with brotherly affection, now burned with resentment. He was consumed by the desire to seize what he believed should have been his. The harmony of Osiris and Isis, their unshakable bond, only served to deepen Seth's anger. He watched them from the shadows, his mind twisted by thoughts of how he could shatter the bliss that they had created. Osiris remained blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within Seth. His days were filled with the joy of his people and the satisfaction of a kingdom at peace. Yet, the seeds of discord had already been sown. Seth's envy grew into a plan so dark that it would forever alter the fate of the land he had once called home. The brotherly love that had once bound Seth to Osiris was now twisted into a hatred so fierce it threatened to engulf everything. As Osiris continued to guide his people with wisdom and kindness, the whispers of Seth's jealousy grew louder. The harmony that had once defined the kingdom began to tremble under the weight of Seth's resentment. The peace that had seemed eternal was now on the brink of collapse, held together only by the strength of Osiris's rule and the love between him and Isis. In the heart of this golden age, where every corner of Egypt seemed touched by the divine grace of Osiris and Isis, the impending darkness was almost unimaginable. It was a time of beauty and abundance, but also one where the seeds of betrayal had begun to take root. The story of Osiris, Isis, and Seth was about to take a turn that would test the very fabric of their world, pushing the boundaries of loyalty, love, and power. The sun blazed over Egypt, casting long shadows across the land, as Seth's jealousy turned into a dark, twisted plan. The kingdom, once a haven of peace and prosperity, was now under the looming threat of betrayal. Seth, consumed by envy, knew that the time had come to strike against his brother, Osiris, and seize the throne for himself. Seth crafted a devious plot with the precision of a serpent. He invited Osiris to a grand banquet, a celebration that was meant to honor their unity and the golden age they had built. The guests, unaware of the treacherous scheme, gathered in joy and anticipation. Seth, with a facade of friendship and warmth, welcomed Osiris with open arms, his eyes cold and calculating behind his false smile. During the feast, Seth unveiled a grand, ornate coffin, claiming it was a gift for Osiris, a symbol of his admiration and respect. The coffin was beautifully crafted, its surface adorned with intricate designs and precious stones. Set's deception was masterful. He knew that the coffin's grandeur would make it irresistible. He urged Osiris to lie inside it, promising that it was a special honor reserved only for him. Osiris, trusting his brother and eager to show his appreciation, climbed into the coffin. As he settled inside, Set's heart raced with dark anticipation. In a moment of cruel triumph, Set and his accomplices slammed the lid shut, trapping Osiris within. The once joyous celebration turned to terror as the coffin was sealed tight, and Set's true intentions were revealed. The air filled with the horrified gasps of those who had been deceived. Set's laughter echoed through the chamber, cold and heartless. He ordered his servants to cast the coffin into the Nile, where it was carried away by the current. Osiris, locked away and helpless, was swept into the dark waters, leaving behind the life he had built and the people who loved him. The coffin drifted through the Nile, and the mighty river carried it far from Egypt, leaving Osiris's body to be scattered across the land. Set's betrayal had succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. The once mighty king was now a lost soul, his body torn apart by the forces of nature. The land mourned, its peace shattered by the treachery of one who had been so close to the throne. As the coffin drifted away, the land seemed to darken. The joyous songs that had once filled the air turned to whispers of sorrow and confusion. The people, who had lived in peace under Osiris's rule, were now left in despair, their hearts heavy with the weight of their king's loss. The land that had flourished under Osiris's reign now felt the chill of Set's cruel ambition. Isis, unaware of the full extent of Set's betrayal, was consumed by grief. She sensed that something was terribly wrong, but the details of Set's treachery were hidden from her. Her heart ached with the loss of her beloved Osiris, and the once bright future of Egypt seemed to slip away into darkness. In the midst of this chaos, Set's triumph was complete. He claimed the throne with ruthless efficiency, ruling with a grip of iron and casting aside the very principles that Osiris had fought to establish. The kingdom, once a beacon of hope and prosperity, now lay under a cloud of fear and despair. Set's treachery had not only destroyed Osiris but had also shattered the lives of countless others. The people, who had once thrived under the benevolent rule of their king, now faced an uncertain future under Set's cruel dominance. The land that had once been a paradise now felt like a place of sorrow and loss, the echoes of Osiris's reign a distant memory. As Set reveled in his new power, the pain of his betrayal spread far beyond the borders of Egypt. The story of Osiris's tragic end became a tale of heartbreak and injustice, a reminder of the destructive power of envy and the devastating consequences of treachery. The once vibrant kingdom was now a shadow of its former self, its beauty marred by the darkness that had crept in with Set's betrayal. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the world seemed to grow colder, darker, and emptier. The heart of Egypt mourned the loss of its beloved king, Osiris. Yet, amid the kingdom's despair, one figure stood out, her grief so profound it shook the very earth. Isis, the queen, had lost more than a husband, she had lost a part of herself. Osiris had been her rock, her guiding light, and now he was gone. The kingdom wept, but for Isis, the sorrow was personal, raw, and unrelenting. Her days were filled with a hollow emptiness, a painful void left by Osiris's absence. The joy and warmth that had once filled her life were replaced by a cold, oppressive silence. Isis's sorrow soon transformed into a fierce determination. Her love for Osiris was so deep, so pure, that she could not bear to see his memory lost forever. She set out on a desperate quest, driven by a love that refused to be silenced by death. Her heart ached with every step, but her resolve was unshakable. She knew that she had to find Osiris's scattered remains and bring him back to her, even if it meant venturing into the darkest corners of the world. Her sister Nephthys, sharing in her grief, joined her in this heart-wrenching search. Together, they combed the banks of the Nile, searching the muddy waters and the hidden places where the coffin might have drifted. Nephthys was a pillar of strength for Isis, her presence a source of comfort amid the sorrow. They worked tirelessly, driven by a shared love and an unbreakable bond of sisterhood. The search was grueling. The Nile, once a symbol of life and abundance, now felt like a vast, indifferent expanse, hiding the remains of the one they sought. Isis and Nephthys faced countless obstacles, from treacherous currents to dangerous creatures. But their grief and determination fueled their every move, making them relentless in their quest. Weeks turned into months, and the pain of their loss seemed to grow with each passing day. Yet, their love for Osiris remained a powerful force. Every new clue they found, every piece of evidence, was a glimmer of hope in the darkness. They followed every lead, no matter how faint, driven by the hope that they might reunite Osiris's body and bring him back to the land he had loved so dearly. One fateful day, their efforts began to bear fruit. They discovered the first fragment of Osiris's body, hidden among the reeds along the Nile. It was a small piece, but to Isis, it was a precious sign that her husband was not entirely lost. With renewed energy, they continued their search, piecing together the fragments with the care and reverence of a sacred task. The act of finding each piece of Osiris's body was both a triumph and a heartbreak. Every fragment brought them closer to their goal, yet it also served as a painful reminder of the tragedy that had befallen them. Isis's tears mixed with the Nile's waters as she gathered the remains of her beloved, her heart breaking with each discovery. As the pieces of Osiris came together, Isis and Nephthys worked tirelessly to restore him. Their hands, though weary and worn, were gentle and precise. Each piece was carefully mended with ancient rites and powerful spells, a testament to the deep love and devotion Isis held for Osiris. The process was both physically and emotionally draining, but they persisted, driven by a fierce love that transcended death itself. In the quiet moments of their search, Isis would speak softly to the pieces of Osiris, recounting the days of joy and love they had shared. Her words were a balm for her aching heart, a way to keep the memory of her beloved alive even as they worked to bring him back. Their quest was not just a physical journey, but a spiritual one as well. Each step they took, every piece they found, was a reaffirmation of their love and commitment. The love between Isis and Osiris was a force that could not be extinguished, even by death. It was a love that defied the very nature of existence, a testament to the strength and endurance of the human heart. As the final pieces were restored, the transformation was both miraculous and poignant. Osiris, though not yet fully restored to life, was now whole in body. His return was a symbol of hope and renewal, a sign that even in the face of the darkest tragedy, love could prevail. Isis's tireless efforts had not only brought Osiris's body back together, but had also rekindled the flame of hope and love in the heart of Egypt. Isis's grief had driven her to perform a miracle, a testament to the power of love and determination. Her quest had been long and painful, but it was a journey that proved that love could overcome even the greatest of obstacles. The air was thick with anticipation and magic as Isis prepared for one of the most profound acts of love and desperation. With Osiris's scattered remains carefully gathered, she stood before the sacred altar, her heart heavy with both grief and hope. The pieces of her beloved husband lay before her, a solemn puzzle that she was determined to complete. Isis, whose love had driven her through countless trials, now called upon the deepest powers of her magic. She invoked ancient spells and prayers, her voice trembling with emotion. The night sky was filled with stars, as if the heavens themselves were watching, holding their breath in anticipation of the miracle that was about to unfold. Her hands moved with a reverence born of deep love and unyielding resolve. As she carefully reassembled the fragments of Osiris, each piece was a testament to their life together, their shared dreams, and the undying bond they had forged. With each fragment placed, a part of her heart healed, even as the pain of loss remained. Isis's magic flowed like a river, her spells weaving through the air with an ethereal glow. Her eyes were fixed on Osiris's body, her love and determination pouring into every word of the incantation. She knew that this was more than just an act of resurrection, it was a chance to bring forth new hope from the ashes of despair. The power of her magic, combined with the depth of her love, was her only hope to achieve the impossible. As the final spell was cast, a brilliant light enveloped Osiris. For a brief moment, the room was bathed in a divine radiance, the air crackling with energy. Isis's heart pounded with a mixture of fear and hope as she watched the miracle unfold. The light was a beacon of hope, a promise of what could be if love and magic combined their forces. Then, in a moment that felt both timeless and fleeting, Osiris stirred. His body, now whole and intact, began to move. Isis's heart leapt with joy and relief. She reached out to him, her hands trembling as she touched his face, her tears mingling with the light that surrounded them. It was a reunion filled with profound emotion, a glimpse of the life that had been stolen from them. In this brief, miraculous moment of resurrection, Isis and Osiris shared a deeply sacred union. Their love, transcending the boundaries of life and death, brought forth a new hope for their people and for their legacy. This union was not just a personal triumph, but a pivotal moment for the future of Egypt. From this union, Horus was conceived. The very essence of Osiris and Isis, their love and strength, flowed into their unborn son. Horus was destined to be more than just a child, he was to become a beacon of justice and renewal. His birth was a symbol of a new beginning, a promise of restoration and balance in a land that had been thrown into chaos by Seth's treachery. As Isis felt the first flutter of her child within her, she knew that Horus was not just a son but a living symbol of their love and their hope. Her heart, though still aching with the loss of Osiris, swelled with a profound sense of purpose. She had brought Osiris back for this precious moment, to ensure that their legacy would continue through Horus. In the quiet moments that followed, as the light of the resurrection faded and Osiris returned to the afterlife, Isis was left with a renewed sense of determination. Her love for Osiris had brought him back, even if only briefly, and from their union, the future of Egypt was now bound to their son. Horus was destined to avenge his father and restore the order that had been disrupted by Seth's betrayal. The magic that had briefly restored Osiris was a testament to the power of love and the strength of the bonds that tied them together. Isis, though left with the pain of parting once more, took solace in the knowledge that their love had created a new hope for their land. The story of their love, their loss, and their son would become a powerful legend, a symbol of the resilience and enduring power of the human heart. The moment Horus was born, a sense of both immense joy and grave dangers surrounded him. His arrival was a beacon of hope, but also a reminder of the peril that lurked nearby. Seth's wrath had devastated their family, and Isis knew that the safety of her son was far from guaranteed. With a heart full of love and fear, Isis took Horus and fled to the marshes of the Nile, seeking refuge among the reeds and murky waters. The marshes, though wild and untamed, offered a veil of protection against Seth's prying eyes. The dense foliage and winding waterways created a natural barrier, hiding them from the world and from the vengeful god who sought to destroy the last remnant of Osiris's line. Isis's days were filled with a blend of vigilance and nurturing. Her every moment was dedicated to keeping Horus safe and teaching him the ways of the gods. The marshes, though an unlikely home, became a place of refuge and learning. She would whisper ancient stories and divine wisdom to Horus, her voice carrying the echoes of a legacy that would one day shape his destiny. Despite the serene appearance of their sanctuary, the marshes were a constant reminder of the danger that lurked beyond. Isis's life was a delicate balance of vigilance and care. She would often find herself listening intently to the sounds of the marsh, her senses heightened by the constant threat of discovery. Every rustle of the reeds, every distant call of a bird, made her heart race with fear for her son's safety. But even in the midst of this constant worry, the divine protection of other gods provided a glimmer of hope. Isis was not alone in her struggle. The gods, moved by her devotion and the plight of her son, watched over them with a protective grace. Horus's early years were marked by subtle signs of divine favor. Animals of the marshes would guide them to safe paths, and the wind seemed to whisper warnings whenever danger approached. The gods had not abandoned them, rather, they offered their aid in the most unexpected ways. As Horus grew, he began to show signs of his divine heritage. The young boy's eyes sparkled with a wisdom beyond his years, and his actions were imbued with a sense of purpose. He was not merely a child hidden away from danger, he was a prince in training, destined for greatness. Isis made sure he understood the importance of his lineage and the role he was destined to play in restoring balance to their world. Every lesson Isis taught Horus was a mix of survival skills and divine knowledge. She guided him in the ways of the gods, preparing him for the challenges that lay ahead. Each lesson was infused with the hope that one day Horus would rise to claim his rightful place and avenge his father's death. The marshes, though far from the grandeur of the palace, became a place where Horus's destiny began to take shape. The isolation of the marshes was not without its own trials. Isis faced the loneliness and exhaustion of raising a child in hiding, far from the comforts of their former life. Yet, her love for Horus was a constant source of strength. She found solace in the moments they shared, the quiet times when she would hold him close and whisper promises of a brighter future. The challenges of their life in hiding were tempered by the divine protection that surrounded them. Isis's faith in the gods was unwavering, and she drew strength from their presence. The marshes became a sacred place, a haven where love and divine favor intertwined to create a fragile but powerful sanctuary. As Horus grew, the bond between mother and son deepened. Their lives, though marked by hardship, were filled with the quiet joy of shared moments and the unspoken promise of a future where Horus would fulfill his destiny. The love Isis had for her son was a beacon of hope, a guiding light that shone even in the darkest of times. In the marshes of the Nile, amidst the reeds and the whispers of the gods, Horus's journey began. He was more than just a child hidden away from danger. He was a symbol of hope, a living testament to the love and sacrifice of his parents. And as Isis continued to protect him, the divine favor that watched over them became a promise of the future, a future where Horus would rise to claim his place and restore the balance that had been lost. As Horus approached adulthood, his path was one of both intense training and profound growth. The time had come for him to rise from the safety of the marshes and face the reality of his destiny. His heart burned with a fierce resolve, and his mother, Isis, was his guiding light through every trial. Under Isis's watchful eye and with the guidance of the gods, Horus began his rigorous preparation. The training was not just physical, it was a comprehensive honing of mind, body, and spirit. He practiced tirelessly, mastering the art of combat with the same dedication he applied to understanding the divine wisdom imparted to him. The training grounds were filled with the sounds of clashing weapons and the grunts of effort. Horus's strength grew, and his skills sharpened, but it was the trials of character that would truly define him. These trials were designed not only to test his prowess, but to forge his spirit into that of a true leader. Each challenge was a stepping stone, a lesson in resilience and strategy. Horus's preparation was marked by moments of intense struggle and profound insights. He faced the elements, fought against skilled adversaries, and endured physical and emotional hardships. Each trial was a testament to his commitment to justice and his determination to restore balance to Egypt. As he faced each challenge, his resolve hardened, and his sense of purpose deepened. The trials were not just personal tests, they were a way to show the gods and his future allies that he was worthy of their support. Horus's journey was not a solitary one. He needed allies to stand beside him in the upcoming battle against Seth. His courage and skill on the battlefield had to be matched by the trust and loyalty he inspired in others. Horus traveled across the land, meeting with various factions and leaders. His presence alone spoke volumes of his potential. He gathered those who had suffered under Seth's rule or who sought to restore the old order. The process was slow and fraught with challenges, but Horus's charisma and the righteousness of his cause drew people to him. He listened to the stories of the oppressed and the grievances of the wronged. His empathy and understanding were as crucial as his combat skills. As he spoke with each new ally, he forged bonds of trust and loyalty. He was not just a prince seeking revenge, he was a beacon of hope for those who had lost everything. The allies Horus gathered were diverse, warriors, scholars, and those with deep connections to the divine. Each brought their own strengths to the alliance. Horus knew that to defeat Seth, he needed not just the force of arms, but the unity of purpose. His leadership was defined by his ability to inspire and unite people from different walks of life. The preparation for the final battle was a time of intense emotion. Horus knew that the stakes were high, and the path to victory was fraught with danger. He carried the weight of his father's legacy and the hopes of his people on his shoulders. Each step forward was a step toward reclaiming a lost world and restoring justice. In the quiet moments before the storm, Horus found solace in the wisdom and strength of Isis. Her unwavering support and guidance were his anchor in the sea of uncertainty. She had seen him grow from a vulnerable child into a formidable leader, and her belief in him was a source of strength. As the day of reckoning approached, Horus stood at the edge of his training grounds, looking out over the land he was about to fight to save. The path ahead was clear in his mind, and his heart was filled with both determination and a deep sense of responsibility. He was ready to face Seth, not just as a son seeking vengeance, but as a leader fighting for the restoration of justice and order. The trials had prepared him, the allies had gathered, and the divine guidance had been received. Horus was ready to step into his destiny and challenge Seth, driven by the love of his mother, the memory of his father, and the hope of a brighter future for Egypt. The clash of Horus and Seth was more than just a battle, it was a cosmic struggle that shook the very foundation of Egypt. The air was thick with anticipation as the armies assembled, each side representing something far greater than mere personal conflict. This was a fight between order and chaos, with the gods themselves watching from their celestial thrones. The battlefield stretched out under a sky filled with dark, brooding clouds, mirroring the tension that gripped the land. Horus, resolute and fierce, stood tall and commanding. His eyes, full of determination, scanned the horizon. He could feel the weight of his father's legacy on his shoulders and the hope of his people in his heart. His allies, arrayed behind him, were a testament to the unity and strength that had grown in the months leading up to this confrontation. Seth, a force of primal chaos, stood on the other side. His presence was a dark storm, a twisted reflection of what Egypt had suffered. His eyes were cold and calculating, and his posture radiated the cruelty that had driven him to usurp his brother's throne. The ground itself seemed to shiver in anticipation of the conflict about to unfold. The first clash of their armies was a violent explosion of sound and fury. Horus's warriors met Seth's forces with fierce determination. The battlefield became a chaotic whirlwind of steel and blood, each side fighting with all their might. Horus fought with a skill and bravery that inspired his troops, every swing of his sword a testament to his training and his resolve. The battle raged on, and the tides of conflict ebbed and flowed. At times, it seemed Horus and his forces would gain the upper hand, only to be pushed back by Seth's relentless assault. The struggle was intense, and the air was filled with the cries of the wounded and the shouts of command. Every inch of ground was fiercely contested, every move on the battlefield a reflection of the broader struggle between order and chaos. Amid the chaos, the gods themselves began to intervene. Their presence was felt in the sudden changes in the wind, the sudden bursts of light, and the unexplained shifts in fortune. The gods, whose gaze had been fixed on this battle, were not passive observers. They wove their influence into the fight, guiding the outcomes and shifting the balance of power. Horus could feel the divine presence around him, a guiding force that seemed to bolster his strength and clarity. The gods' favor manifested in moments of unexpected aid, an ally arriving just in time to turn the tide, or a sudden wind that blew dust into the eyes of Seth's forces. Each divine intervention was a sign of the gods' investment in the outcome, a reminder that this battle was about more than just the physical clash of armies. As the battle wore on, the intensity of the conflict reached its peak. Horus and Seth faced each other in direct combat, their confrontation a dance of violence and skill. Horus's movements were swift and precise, every strike a combination of rage and purpose. Seth, equally formidable, fought with a savagery that spoke of his deep-seated need to dominate and destroy. The fight between Horus and Seth was a spectacle of raw power and determination. Their weapons clashed with a ringing sound, each impact echoing the struggle of their ideologies. Horus's eyes, fierce and focused, met Seth's cold glare, and the intensity of their confrontation was felt by all who witnessed it. The battle seemed to stretch on endlessly, with neither side willing to give an inch. But as the struggle continued, a change began to take place. Horus, guided by his unwavering determination and the support of the gods, began to turn the tide. His attacks grew more decisive, his movements more confident. Seth, on the other hand, began to show signs of strain. The chaotic force that had once seemed invincible was beginning to falter under the weight of Horus's relentless assault. The moment of truth arrived with a final, decisive clash. Horus's strength, fueled by the love of his family and the hope of his people, broke through Set's defenses. With a final, powerful strike, Horus defeated Set, casting him down from the battlefield. The land seemed to breathe a sigh of relief as the dark storm that had hung over Egypt began to dissipate. In the aftermath of the battle, the sky cleared, and the land seemed to awaken from a long, dark nightmare. The gods watched as Horus stood victorious, his heart full of both triumph and sorrow. The fight had been fierce, and the cost had been great, but the victory was a testament to the enduring power of order over chaos. The great battle between Horus and Set was more than just a clash of two gods, it was a symbol of the struggle for balance and justice in the world. As the dust settled and the wounded were tended to, the promise of a new era began to take shape, a time when the balance would be restored, and Egypt could begin to heal from the scars of conflict. In the heart of the divine realm, where the gods gathered in their majestic court, the tension was palpable. The sky above shimmered with the presence of the deities, their gazes fixed on the unfolding drama. The great hall was a place of profound silence and weighty significance, as the gods prepared to decide the fate of Egypt. At the center of this celestial gathering stood Horus and Set, each representing a different vision for the land. Horus, youthful yet resolute, stood tall, his expression a blend of determination and hope. His mother, Isis, was beside him, her face a portrait of fierce love and unwavering support. She had fought tirelessly for her son's rightful place and now stood ready to advocate for him before the divine assembly. Horus's heart was heavy with anticipation, but his resolve was clear. He had faced countless trials, and this final challenge was no different. He knew that this judgment would seal his destiny and determine the future of Egypt. Set, on the other hand, radiated a dark, unsettling energy. His presence was a reminder of the chaos and suffering that had plagued the land. The scars of his rule were still fresh in the memories of the gods and the people. Set's eyes were cold and calculating, his demeanor one of defiant arrogance. He was determined to maintain his claim to the throne, and he had come prepared to argue his case with all the cunning and force he could muster. The divine court was a grand assembly, where gods of every pantheon and power had gathered to witness and decide. Their presence was a living testament to the gravity of the moment. The hall echoed with whispers as the gods prepared to hear the arguments from both sides. The air crackled with divine energy, and the tension was so thick it seemed almost tangible. Isis took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice steady and full of passion. She spoke of Horus's journey, of the trials he had endured, and the noble purpose that drove him. Her words were laced with heartfelt emotion as she recounted the loss of Osiris, the hardships Horus had faced in his quest for justice, and the strength he had shown. She painted a vivid picture of her son's sacrifice and his unwavering commitment to restoring order and balance to Egypt. Her plea was not just a mother's cry but a powerful argument for what was right and just. Horus stood quietly, his presence speaking volumes about his readiness and dignity. He had lived through the turmoil that Set's rule had brought upon Egypt. He had seen firsthand the suffering and chaos that had resulted from Set's actions. He knew that this was more than just a personal struggle, it was about restoring balance and ensuring a future where justice and order could flourish. Set, when it was his turn, presented his case with a cold, detached precision. He spoke of his power and the strength he had demonstrated in battle. His arguments were crafted to highlight his dominance and control, appealing to the raw force that he wielded. He painted himself as a necessary force to keep order through strength, even as his rule had led to widespread suffering. The gods listened intently, their expressions a mix of contemplation and concern. They were no strangers to the complexities of power and justice, and the weight of their decision was evident in their thoughtful silence. The divine court was not merely a formality, it was a reflection of the deep moral and ethical considerations that underpinned the cosmic order. The debate was fierce, with both sides presenting compelling arguments. Set's claims were powerful and intimidating, while Isis's passionate defense of Horus was equally moving. The gods were caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions and considerations. The struggle was not just about who would rule, but about the kind of world they wished to create. Finally, as the debate drew to a close, the gods began to deliberate. The air was thick with anticipation as they weighed the arguments and the evidence. It was a moment of profound significance, with the fate of Egypt hanging in the balance. The silence was almost deafening as the gods reached their decision. In a moment that seemed to stretch out forever, the verdict was announced. The gods, swayed by the compelling case made by Isis and the undeniable truth of Horus's journey, declared Horus the rightful ruler of Egypt. The judgment was met with a mixture of relief and jubilation. The divine court had recognized the righteousness of Horus's cause and the need for a ruler who embodied justice and balance. The decision was not just a triumph for Horus but a hopeful moment for Egypt. The gods' judgment symbolized a return to order and a new beginning for the land. As Horus and Isis stood together, their hearts were filled with a deep sense of accomplishment and a renewed hope for the future. The divine court's decision was a testament to the enduring power of justice and the strength of a rightful leader's resolve. As the sun rose over Egypt, casting its warm glow across the land, a new chapter in the country's history began. Horus, now crowned and resolute, stood before his people as their rightful king. The air was charged with excitement and hope as Egypt welcomed a new era under his rule. The weight of his father's legacy rested on his shoulders, but Horus was determined to honor it with wisdom and strength. The streets of the capital buzzed with activity. Temples and palaces that had once fallen into disrepair were now being restored, their grandeur a symbol of the new beginning. The people, who had lived under the shadow of Seth's chaos, felt a surge of relief and joy. Horus's ascent to the throne was not just a change in leadership but a promise of peace and stability. Horus's reign brought a sense of order and prosperity that had been missing for so long. He worked tirelessly to rebuild the country, focusing on justice and fairness. His rule was marked by efforts to restore the agricultural systems that had once flourished, ensuring that the land was fertile and productive. The economy began to recover, and people could once again look to the future with optimism. The gods, too, played their part in this new era. Osiris, though no longer the king of the living, took on his new role with dignity and purpose. As the ruler of the underworld, he became the guardian of the balance between life and death. His domain was a place of judgment, where the souls of the departed were guided and assessed. Osiris's presence ensured that the souls of the deceased found their way to the afterlife with fairness and grace. His role was crucial in maintaining the cosmic balance and ensuring that the cycle of life and death was respected. In this divine balance, Horus's reign and Osiris's rule complemented each other perfectly. Horus managed the affairs of the living, bringing order and prosperity to the land, while Osiris oversaw the passage of souls and the maintenance of cosmic justice. The harmony between these two realms was essential for Egypt's stability and growth. The gods had entrusted Horus with the responsibility of leading the living, and Osiris with the care of the deceased. Together, they worked to ensure that the world was balanced and just. Horus's leadership was characterized by his deep respect for the traditions and laws of Egypt. He reinstated old practices and rituals that had been neglected, helping to reconnect the people with their cultural heritage. His administration was marked by a sense of fairness and integrity. He listened to the concerns of his people and worked to address them, earning their trust and admiration. The restoration of order was not just about rebuilding physical structures or reviving old customs. It was also about healing the wounds left by Seth's rule. The scars of past conflicts were not easily forgotten, but Horus's efforts to promote unity and understanding helped to mend the rifts in society. He encouraged cooperation and dialogue, fostering a spirit of reconciliation among the people. As Horus established his reign, the land flourished under his guidance. The prosperity that came with his rule was reflected in the lives of ordinary people. Farmers returned to their fields, artisans resumed their crafts, and merchants saw their businesses thrive once more. The once troubled land now pulsed with a renewed sense of vitality and hope. Osiris's role as the ruler of the underworld was equally vital. In the quiet depths of the afterlife, he provided solace and justice to the souls of the departed. His presence ensured that the journey to the next world was fair and that the dead were treated with respect. Osiris's guidance brought comfort to those who had lost loved ones, knowing that their souls were in capable hands. The balance between the living and the dead was maintained with care and reverence. The people of Egypt felt a profound sense of peace, knowing that their loved ones were being cared for by Osiris, while they enjoyed the stability and prosperity brought by Horus. This divine harmony was a testament to the strength of the gods' judgment and the power of their roles in shaping the destiny of Egypt. As Horus stood on the steps of his palace, looking out over the land he had vowed to protect, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His heart swelled with pride and gratitude for the opportunity to lead his people and honor his father's legacy. The promise of a brighter future was now a reality, and the gods had shown that justice and balance could prevail even in the face of great adversity. The myth of Osiris, Isis, and Horus has left an indelible mark on Egyptian culture, resonating through the ages with a profound legacy that continues to touch hearts and inspire minds. The story of these deities, their trials, and their triumphs embodies timeless lessons about justice, loyalty, and the cyclical nature of life and death. The legend of Osiris, Isis, and Horus was more than just a tale, it was the heartbeat of Egyptian religion and daily life. For centuries, Egyptians looked to this myth not only for spiritual guidance but also for a reflection of their own struggles and hopes. The story became a cornerstone of their beliefs, shaping their understanding of the world and their place within it. Each year, the myth was commemorated with grand festivals that brought the entire country together in celebration. These festivals, vibrant with music, dance, and rituals, were a living tribute to the gods' enduring influence. The annual events were not merely celebrations, but a powerful reenactment of the myth's core themes. The people participated in rituals that symbolized Horus's struggle against Seth and Osiris's journey through the underworld, reinforcing the values of justice and rebirth. In the temples, the gods were depicted in countless works of art. Statues of Osiris, often shown as a mummified figure, symbolized eternal life and the promise of resurrection. Isis was portrayed as a nurturing goddess, her image embodying the ideals of love and protection. Horus, as a falcon-headed deity, represented strength and rightful rule. These artistic representations were more than decorative, they were sacred symbols that carried deep spiritual meaning. They reminded worshippers of the gods' presence in their lives and the importance of living in harmony with the divine principles they upheld. The impact of the Osiris myth extended beyond art and festivals. It influenced Egyptian literature, shaping stories and hymns that echoed the themes of the divine struggle and the promise of renewal. The myth was woven into the very fabric of Egyptian spirituality, guiding their understanding of life, death, and the afterlife. It taught them that justice would ultimately prevail, that loyalty to family and duty was paramount, and that death was not an end but a passage to a new beginning. The story of Osiris, Isis, and Horus also left a legacy in the architecture of Egypt. Temples dedicated to these gods were marvels of construction, reflecting the grandeur of their divine personas. These sacred spaces were designed not just as places of worship but as embodiments of the cosmic order they represented. The alignment of these temples, their intricate carvings, and their inscriptions were all intended to honor the gods and reinforce their teachings. The myth's influence reached beyond the borders of Egypt, affecting other civilizations that came into contact with Egyptian culture. The themes of justice, loyalty, and renewal found resonance in various societies, where they were integrated into their own spiritual traditions and myths. The story of Osiris, Isis, and Horus became a bridge between cultures, a testament to the universal appeal of its lessons. As the centuries passed, the story of Osiris, Isis, and Horus remained a powerful symbol of hope and redemption. It spoke to the enduring human desire for justice, the strength found in family bonds, and the belief in the possibility of renewal. The myth's legacy lived on in the hearts of those who remembered the gods' trials and triumphs, continuing to inspire and guide them through the challenges of life. In every corner of Egypt, from the grand temples to the simple homes, the story of these deities was a reminder of the divine presence that watched over them and the moral principles that guided their lives. It was a legacy that transcended time, a beacon of light that shone through the darkness and offered hope to all who sought it. The enduring impact of the myth of Osiris, Isis, and Horus is a testament to the power of stories to shape our understanding of the world and our place within it.